Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's C-O-M-B-E-S-T, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?
Hi, it's me, Egbert, E-G-G-B-U-R-T, the owner of this radio station. I invite everyone to listen, no matter if you're young, old, black, white, Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, heck, I even want real estate agents listening to my station. Yes, even Rick and Tracy. You're all welcome. Now, it's back to my Goodwill ambassadors, Brad and John.
Okay, what I was talking about, we teased the last break, John, was that the big name in audience measurement, which has been around for decades and decades and decades, is Nielsen. And you remember, once upon a time, Nielsen was the big dog in television ratings with the Nielsen overnights and things like that. You're familiar with Nielsen, correct?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay.
Sure. And it used to be called? They purchased Arbitron, right?
Yes, Arbitron was the company that did radio ratings. That was the big dog in the radio business. And Nielsen bought Arbitron several years ago. I want to say maybe 10, 12 years ago, something like that. Okay, the story that I was listening to on NPR. The guy was talking about how, for the first time, Nielsen had completed its huge revamp of ratings to now include streaming. So obviously they're the big dog still on what they call OTA, over-the-air television, or what you call linear television, whatever you want to call it. In other words, Channel 4, Channel 5, Channel 2, stuff like that, okay? And now they have completely gotten their system to the point where they know if they're rating you, whether you're watching, Channel 4 sitting in your living room with the bunny ears on top of your TV set, or you're hooked up to the internet, or you're streaming, or whatever, however you're getting the signal, okay? And the interesting story was, and keep in mind, the guy pointed out, he says, now keep in mind, July was the Olympics. And he said that what everybody has pretty much resolved in the broadcasting industry, even in cable, that, or even in like streaming, that's why Amazon is now bidding on the television rights, and why some people are like ticked off because there's been several games throughout the Cardinal season that were not on the usual place on Bally. You had to get them on Amazon or something like that. And he said that, keep in mind, these were the first huge numbers released by Nielsen, and they were July. And he said, think about who you think would have benefited from that. Peacock, NBC, things like that, okay? I won't drag it out, but the number one streaming channel, what do you think it was in July of 2024?
Oh, the Olympics.
No. Was not.
What was it? Was it a convention?
No. Take one more guess. But I'm actually talking like channels, okay? Like if you said, okay, people were watching Peacock. Or
so would it be like a Fox News?
Was not. You want one more guess?
No, go ahead and tell us.
YouTube. YouTube
I believe it.
The number one, and it would beat, and the point he was making was, and I've talked about this as well, too. This is one of the things when I do my presentations to groups and things like that. You know me, I'm fascinated by YouTube. And the point he brought up was, for the most part, YouTube pays nothing for their content. But as opposed to NBC Universal, which has to pay, billions of dollars to the Olympic Committee for the rights. And that's why, if you go back 60, 70 years ago, that's why the baseball players were lucky to make $30,000, $40,000 a year. Now they're making hundreds of millions of dollars in a contract that goes for 20 years. Why is that? Because it's the money that's out there from essentially the transmission rights, the broadcast rights, whatever you want to call it. And he brought up the fact that YouTube, what happens is you and I upload our stuff, and we do it every day when we're on the air. We upload 3 episodes to YouTube, and YouTube doesn't pay us for that. And if we got really big and we got a following, and now they've made it much tougher to get monetized, what they call it. If we met those monetization goals, maybe we might get a little money from YouTube. But right now, we are giving our programming, what you and I do, for free, and they are making money off of it because if
isn't that beautiful? That's capitalism. Right. I love that, Brad.
But the point was that they have used this extremely unconventional, model that if you go to every single other streaming or broadcast platform, the platforms are paying for the content. Netflix is paying the studios to put their movies on, and in some cases actually producing the movies. The same thing that Amazon's doing. Amazon is paying. I told the story that I believe it was Netflix, and I know you're never going to watch it because I ask you to watch it. And every time I ask you to watch something, I know you say, well, I'm never going to watch that. I think it's called Rocking the House. It was the documentary that I think it was like a husband and wife couple did about the 2018 congressional election, and they followed 4 women who were running for U.S. Congress, one of whom was Cori Bush. And if you remember this, she lost in 2018. And there was another lady from Nevada, another lady from West Virginia, and a lady from New York. And her name happened to be AOC. And they did this documentary, and I think they spent like $40,000 or $50,000 on it. And I believe it was either Netflix or Amazon bought it for $11 million. So in other words, they're paying for the content. YouTube does not. Now, he also said that the interesting aspect of this is that YouTube is becoming one of the most successful streaming platforms because you can now sign up for YouTube television, where you can watch various things.
Yeah, it's a pretty good deal.
Right. But the interesting thing he said, and this is sort of interesting as well too, he said that it's owned by Alphabet, which is the Google company. Alphabet is now the parent company. It used to be just Google. Now it's called Alphabet. And he said that they don't break out financials for the various operating entities, in this case being YouTube, when they do their financials and their stock market reporting and stuff like that. But he says he thinks YouTube is probably break even. He doesn't think they're really making any money at it. Now, isn't that sort of fascinating when you think about that?
Yeah, it is. Now, remember, there have been a whole lot of companies that have become billion-dollar companies exclusively through user-generated content. Of course, Facebook doesn't produce content, and Facebook would be one, and Twitter and others. I'm surprised that the YouTube division, or that part of the business, wouldn't be profitable. Do they maybe spend so much? Are the technology costs or the hard costs?
Yes, that's what he
said.
So
expensive?
He said it's extremely expensive because he gave some statistic that was just mind-boggling of like every minute, I don't know how many videos were uploaded. Keep in mind, this is global. I mean, it's not just the United States, all over the world.
Good point, Brad. Yeah.
And they have these huge, monstrous server farms that obviously, what you don't want is you don't want to go on any of the channels, YouTube or any of the, the apps or whatever like that, and get, sorry, server down or server busy or that kind of stuff. So they have to constantly be aware of what their channel loading and, what their usage is, and constantly being able to, increase server capacity. And they said it's just extremely expensive. And it was pretty fascinating stuff. All the stuff he gave, and talked about how Netflix had created this whole thing of the streaming concept, and then all the other companies followed, and they're all losing their butt. Remember, if you're a stock market guy, you know this. Disney, I don't think has Disney ever shown a profit on Disney Plus? Don't they break those numbers out separately?
That's a great question. Yeah, I don't know, Brad. That's a great question.
Well, most of them are not. Most of them talk about they're losing money on it because of the fact that and once again, this is Brad's favorite thing in business. This is disruption. Somebody comes along and, once again, I have to tell you this. Sometimes I'm like the guy, once in a blue moon, I'm the smartest guy in the world. I remember a press conference that the Cardinals were gloating about, hey, we just signed this deal. I guess at the time it was still Fox Sports Midwest, and then they sold that off to Bally. And they're talking about, we signed a deal where it's over the course of 5 years, we're going to get $2 billion. Okay, I don't remember that exact number. And I sat there when I watched this press conference, I said to myself, I don't think that's going to happen, because of the fact that there's going to be a point when people are going to go like, I don't know if I'm interested in watching baseball anymore. And the reason I said that is because of the demographics of baseball. baseball is not a young person's sport anymore. People, I mean, like in your day and my day, John, you drove by Toolman School, and it's a Saturday afternoon. What did you see on the back there in the baseball field?
Everybody playing baseball.
Everybody playing baseball, okay? Even to the point where in my kid's life cycle, okay, there was a point in time when my oldest son, who hasn't played baseball for, I guess, last time he played he would be 23 years ago, we had a tough time finding a field to practice on. Those same fields that we had a tough time reserving, I drive by all the time, they're empty. There's nobody out there anymore. Kids don't.
So you're saying it's a dying sport?
Well, I think the interesting part of it is that it's a dying sport in the fact that now they're trying to I don't know if you heard this. There's all sorts of new things they're talking about. The newest thing they're talking about is, in Major League Baseball, they're talking about the fact that they're going to make it mandatory that the starting pitcher pitches 6 innings unless he's injured. Because once again, the idea being and they talked about that, like in the major leagues, there are rarely any full game pitching.
A complete game.
Game.
It's a lost art. You never see complete games anymore.
Right. And just to the point where and some people would say, well, you know who started all that crap? It was Tony Lasorda. No, not Tony La Russa. It was Tony La Russa. Tony La Russa was the king of putting a pitcher in for 2 pitches, and then he substituted everybody else.
Okay.
Right. And what it did was it slowed the game down. So in other words, now what they're trying to do is they're trying to speed the game back up. Speed it up, because the young kids get tired of it. I can tell you personally, my 2 youngest sons, we used to broadcast the River City Rascals games, and I had tickets and could go anytime I wanted, the whole bit. I used to take my 2 youngest sons there. I thought they were having fun until one night one of my sons said to me, "Dad, do we have to go to the baseball game tonight?" And I go, "You don't like it?" "No, not really. We like the playground, but we just don't like going to the game." "Okay, fine." And if I called up my sons right now, if I called up Drew, my youngest son, and said, "Hold on a minute, I'll do that. Okay, you ready for this?"
Let's do it.
Do you mind if I do this?
Oh, go ahead.
Well, he should be up by now. I think he's heading into work. Okay, hold on a minute. Let me call him. This is my son who is 30. Okay, this is Drew, and let me find him real quick here. And hopefully he won't cuss at me or anything like that. Drew's a wonderful kid. Drew, here he is right here. D-R-E, Drew Hildebrand. Okay, let's give the old phone here. Let's see, bring it up on the air here. Should ring. There we go. Okay. Drew Hildebrand, who is, in his day, was a darn good athlete. Played high school soccer. He's not going to answer. Now, see, my oldest son is different. My oldest son he turned 40 in August last month. Drew's not going to answer.
Please leave your...
No, okay. I thought that was him picking up. It wasn't. Okay. I would be willing to bet that he hasn't been to a Cardinals game in 10 years. And once again, he's their target demographic. He's a young guy, and he is not. I want to say he's a sports fan, but he's a sports guy. That kind of stuff. Baseball is and going back to what I said before, it just can't keep going. Now, the interesting part of it is that at one point in time, people said that baseball was America's sport. They don't say that anymore. They say football is America's sport. Because look at the situation over the weekend. You got Mizzou. Mizzou's doing real well, and people are following that. And for the first time in a long time, they're selling out the stadium. I can remember we did the Mizzou Tigers. We broadcast the Tigers on our AM station when it was sports. How's that going back? Like probably 5-6 years ago. When we think we switched over in 2018, so that would have been 6 years ago. Okay, 6-7 years ago, we got tickets. We got season tickets too, as being an affiliate. I would go down there, and half the stadium was empty. It was to the point where there weren't a lot of people there. Now they sell it out. And partly because they got a good team. But once again, it's to the point where the rights, and the NIL thing and the whole bit, Money.
Well, I also think, Brad, you have a little bit of recency bias here, and that the Cardinals are not doing well and attendance is down. So we all have a little bit of recency bias if we're in St. Louis, right? And, and if you're in Kansas City, you would say everybody loves the NFL, and the NFL is the hottest thing going, and nothing can possibly compete with the NFL.
It was interesting. Once I was listening to a sports show over the weekend. Once again, listening to a lot of radio, and one of the guys said they were doing the play-by-play, and the guy says, "Tell me your 3 favorite stadiums in the country." And both of them said Arrowhead was their number 2 favorite stadium. Okay, these are guys that have broadcast from every single stadium. Why do they want to tear it down or move? You know what I mean? It's a great place to watch a football game. Don't screw with it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, did they say their number 1 was the Trans World Dome? Or was it Car Shield? Were they used to go into the Mike Carter suite at Car Shield?
John, say goodbye.
Bye, guys. See you tomorrow.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?